Welcome back. The Dynasty Daddy YouTube channel is officially back on. I am back from vacation. I didn't even have time to change clothes because all I was thinking about was doing startup drafts, fantasy football, trying to get back into it. So I'm excited. Let's get going. Today we're going to talk about the best values I see out there in your startup drafts. I know everyone's starting to join new leagues. We may be doing some more leagues in the Dynasty Daddy Discord as well, so definitely check that out if you're interested. But let's jump into the video. Got my drink. Let's do some drafts. First up, Will. Will has a gun to my head. I have to include his guy, Breece Hall.
I'm a Breece supporter. I'm the Breece Hall defender. I just like him so much more than all these other running backs, except for you, my sweet prince. I am Breece believer.
You need to put a Jets jersey on at this point. Currently, he is RB10 on KeepTradeCut, which is a late fourth-round pick in startup drafts, and based on ADP Daddy using over 300,000 real drafts, Breece Hall's RB8 as an early fourth-round pick. So he's currently going into the fourth round. Things to note about Breece Hall, people think he's washed, but he did have 212 fantasy points last year, 13 points per game, 200 rushing attempts, 876 yards, 5 touchdowns, which we can certainly see some improvement there, and 483 receiving yards. How I see it, it's a similar trajectory to JT, in my opinion. A lot of people love JT coming in. Everyone was like, JT's the guy. He had that one breakout year, but still that year wasn't so amazing. He's good, not amazing. He still has the value installation of a young-ish player. He's just a little depressed right now. Breece Hall is like the prom queen coming back to a Friday night football game in high school as the freshman in college. She's not popular anymore. The allure is gone. There's none of the social mean girl dynamics, but the talent's still there. She's still got it. That's what Breece Hall is. He's still got it. He just doesn't have the young, super high upside that we see in the Bijan and Gibbs, those types of players. One wild card to consider as well is if he gets moved to another team like Chicago or something like that, his value will skyrocket. So there's a lot of potential ways that Breece Hall can all of a sudden become the it girl again. So I am a big fan of using the early picks on wide receivers, quarterbacks, pick up those elite guys, and then maybe be able to sneak in a solid long-term play in a Breece Hall. Next up, are we seriously doing this again? Brock Purdy. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he was the last pick in the draft, but Brock Purdy constantly outperforms his ADP every single year. Currently on KeepTradeCut, he's QB 13, early fourth round draft pick, and on ADP Daddy, he's QB 14, early fifth round quarterback right now. If we look at his stats though, he's putting up crazy numbers. 278 fantasy points, 300 completions, 3,864 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. It was a little bit of a down year for the 49ers, but he still put up amazing numbers. One thing that's sneaky that we got to think about is he did have 300 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. That kind of saved his season in terms of fantasy football production. His team was banged up, but his rushing upside really carried him throughout the season and gave him 18.6 points per game, which was borderline elite. And again, I know he's not the sexiest name, but you got to do what you got to do. He can put up amazing numbers. Why is he always so low on the draft board? And I think it's still a subconscious bias towards but he was the last pick in the draft. Are they really committed to him? Is he really that good? He now has a new long-term deal with the 49ers, and the 49ers are historically one of the best offensive schemes in modern NFL history. So I'm not concerned about this. Brock Purdy is the ugly girl that takes off the glasses in the movies and everyone's like, whoa, she's actually hot. But he has to do that every single season. We constantly say, oh, he's ugly, he's ugly, he's ugly. And then we realize, wait a minute, he's actually good. We just don't want to admit it. Don't fall for that trap. Go out and get him. He's a perfect quarterback that you can soak up in kind of those late fourth, fifth rounds and make higher value picks earlier. Next up, to quote Sabrina Carpenter, man's best friend, Mark Andrews, is Lamar's best friend. I think he's still good. I think he's still got it. Currently on KeepTradeCut, he's a early 11th round pick. So you're getting a great value on a tight end like Mark Andrews, who's put up elite numbers before. But let's talk about his numbers. Last year, he had 161 fantasy points, 69 targets, nice, 55 receptions, 673 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns, 10.75 points per game. I know what you're thinking. Well, that's not that amazing. But if you think about your fantasy leagues, tight end markets are usually depressed. Mark Andrews provides solid, reliable production. You don't need to go out and pay for the big names, but he can still put up big numbers. 2024, he was still recovering from the tightrope surgery. He suffered that injury late in 2023. After the first 5 weeks in 2024, Mark Andrews averaged 13.9 points per game and scored 11 touchdowns in his final 12 weeks, ranking among the top 5 tight ends in that stretch. He still showed some growth, some progress. He's like the Halliburton of tight ends right now. right? People love to call him washed. People love to say he's not a superstar. To me, that just signals a discount. He still has the talent to perform and put up elite numbers. He might not be a consistent elite guy like a Kittle or a McBride or anyone like that. But if I'm getting a guy that has the upside of that in the 9th, 10th, 11th rounds, that is a steal. So I need to be using that, especially with most leagues are 10, 12 teams. You're only starting 10 to 12 tight ends per league. I don't need to overdraft tight ends in kind of like the 6th, 7th rounds when I can get a guy like a Mark Andrews later. Next up, I'm cheating a little bit. This category I just call the last chopper out of QB purgatory. This is around rounds 10 to 11. The 3 names to focus on are Tua, Darnold, and Geno. If we look at Tua, last year Tua scored 17 points per game. He's KeepTradeCut and ADP Daddy's QB 25 and going in the early 8th round. Next up is Darnold, who scored 18 points per game. KeepTradeCut and ADP Daddy have him as QB 26, early to mid 9th round in startup drafts. And lastly, Geno, 16 points per game, and he's KeepTradeCut and ADP Daddy's QB 27. So why do I say all these weird, kind of gross-looking quarterbacks? Is because what happens after this is hell if you miss out on this wave. These 3 quarterbacks for Superflex are locked into reliable starter roles, and they have at least a window of 2-ish years, at least. Probably more. They have long-term contracts. They provide flexibility of like they're probably not going to retire next year or have anything serious happen. They're just not the sexiest names, but they're still going to put up replacement level to slightly above replacement level at quarterback and give you the consistency that you need when you're trying to get that late round quarterback. And 2, if you're in a 1 quarterback league, these players are going to even fall later in your draft. But again, if I can get a player that's scoring 16, 17 points per game for really cheap, that means I can take a wide receiver higher. I can take a running back higher. I can take a position that matters more and has higher upside than me reaching on a quarterback in, 7th, 8th round, something like that. If you're stuck and you don't have a quarterback coming into these rounds, these guys are great values for what they offer. And if you don't take them, you're stuck betting on a Stafford, a Anthony Richardson, Aaron Rodgers. It's basically like going shopping for toilet paper in 2020. You're out of luck. You're going to be pulling a Step Brothers and using the bath mat to wipe your ass. So to me, make sure to target some of these guys, especially if you are weak at quarterback. This is the perfect range to take a guy like this. Last point I want to make in this video is the 11th to 14th rounds. It's cuffing season. This is where you can really find a lot of high value handcuffs that give you flexibility and also give you the insurance policy that if things go wrong, you might end up with a guy that can put 80 to 100% of the starters. Why do I say this? Handcuffs aren't usually the most fun to take, especially in like a redraft league. There's different strategies there, and especially best ball. But if you're playing dynasty lineup leagues, if a starting running back gets hurt, the handcuffs can step in and typically gets about 80 to 100% of the starter's fantasy output, and sometimes can have league-winning upside out of the gate. A perfect example was Jordan Mason when Christian McCaffrey went down. He was dominant the first 8 weeks or so, and that is just because somebody got to run the ball. Someone got to run the ball, and he did a phenomenal job, especially week 1 when I really needed him. Shouts to him. Essentially, handcuffs are insurance policies, and if I can get some high-end insurance policies, I'm going to take that. One thing to note, too, is some handcuffs in this range play for high-powered offenses, and they're behind potentially injury-prone starters or kind of this ambiguous backfield situations. And those are also players I want to take. Examples are like Tajay Spears, Jordan Mason. We don't really know his role with Aaron Jones, how that's going to look. Jaden Blue, Jalen Warren. There's a lot of those guys where it's like we don't really know what that backfield is going to look like. It's a perfect range to take at least some of these bets in this range. Having valuable handcuffs to your roster allows you to absorb injuries, navigate bye weeks, and handle the attribution of a full season and stay competitive throughout the year. And one player I do really want to spotlight in this range is Breece Hall. Tootin was a higher pick than Cam Scatterboo, but goes 2 to 3 rounds later than Scatterboo in KeepTradeCut and ADP Daddy startup drafts. To me, the talents there, the profiles are similar. I personally like Tootin better, but that's just my bias. But I think the bet is still the same. This is an ambiguous backfield. Can they find a role and produce? One of the best values in drafts in this range is always going to be running backs in some sort of ambiguous backfields or someone that has the upside of one injury away from being impactful. A perfect example is think last year with Bucky Irving and Tyrone Tracy. Both of them kind of came into situations. They were slow to start, but we saw once Singletary went down, Tyrone Tracy took off. Bucky Irving started, coming on as well as Rachaad White got banged up a little bit. It's like a gold rush, right? And everyone's rushing out to California to try to pay him for gold. And you might hit it on the guy, but you might not. But in this range, this is a perfect range to take your best shots on some high-level handcuffs that could pay off and, give you some gold during this season. Cheers. That wraps up my first video back from vacation. I got to get off vacation brain a little bit, but I'm excited to jump in. We got an exciting season ahead of us. If you stuck through all of this, do the YouTube stuff, right? Like, comment, all that stuff. Also, check out our Discord, completely free. It's a great place to stay in touch with everything going on with the Dynasty Daddy site, the YouTube channel, all of that. And check out our Tuesday night live streams at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we answer your questions. Not my questions, your questions. So bring whatever you want to talk about, and we will talk about it live on air to thousands of people. Just kidding. It's usually like 30, but we're building that. So definitely come and hang out there. And until next time, peace.